to falsely come here today and jump out of my shoes and say things are wonderful in Ohio, I think is a little bit whistling past the graveyard. I mean, it's tough right now. A community like Findlay, a community like Hancock has come through the last year or so much better than certainly some of the other counties in my area. You go back to Williams County or Fulton or Henry or a number of the others, and it's tough right now. And whether you want to blame that on federal policy, whether you want to blame it on the economy, whatever you want to blame it on, it's tough. And people are down right now. A race against the stopwatch rather than a race against the opponent. I've never met the person who filed. In fact, up to a week before the filing deadline back in February, I was expecting no opponent. I kept checking in with Jody O'Brien and the others over at the Board of Elections, and there was nobody filed, and suddenly this apparently young man, who I've, again, have never met, have never seen in an event, files, and as I was telling Joy this morning, if he walked into this room right now, I wouldn't know him, because I Googled him, as hip people do nowadays, to find out about him, and it pulled up one picture, one he had posted on his own Twitter page, hitting the face with a pie. So if I ever do see him, I'm going to have to ask if he'll put on a pie so I can identify him. So I don't know why, in some ways, that he filed, because he hasn't, apparently at this point, chose to make a campaign, although I tell folks when I'm out and about that he's running a covert campaign, very underground. I had told folks 4 years ago when I started running that I had no plans to go to Columbus and be a backbencher, and I think this 2-year period especially shows that I haven't done that. And so, interestingly enough, normally when you're elected leadership, you give up your chairmanship, but President Harris, because it was midterm, agreed to allow me to be a chairman. He also added more committee assignments, so I think I ended up with 6 committees plus the leadership role, and I wore out a couple pair of shoes with all those assignments. The budget will clearly dominate, as it did much of this past 2 years, and does every year. I mean, the budget bill is always the most important bill you pass, not only because it carries the financial issues, it carries so many policy issues anymore. And so clearly when you're facing an $8 billion budget going into next spring, that's going to be a real challenge. We'll continue to work, as I mentioned, on the issues that I care the most about, some of the ones we just talked about. But transportation for me is a passion, and I really enjoy it, and I'm going to continue to work on that. The workers' comp system is something that I've developed some expertise on and is an important issue as part of our economic revitalization. You know, I think Ohio continues to have great potential. I think if we hold the course on tax reform, I think if we get serious about regulatory reform and some other things, that's going to be good. The seeds of hope are there, but we've got to get through this rough patch too.